The match between Paraguay and Turkey at the 2026 FIFA World Cup turned into one of the tournament's most unforgettable games. It was filled with unexpected moments, new records, strange incidents, and a historic decision that had football fans around the world talking for days. What started as a normal group stage match quickly became one of the biggest stories of the competition, not only because of the result but also because of everything that happened on the field. The excitement began almost immediately after kickoff. Paraguay shocked everyone by scoring after just 1 minute and 5 seconds, making it the fastest goal of the entire 2026 World Cup. Midfielder Matias Galarza fired a powerful long-range shot that found the back of the net before many fans had even settled into their seats. The early goal gave Paraguay a 1-0 lead and completely changed the mood of the match. Turkey suddenly found themselves chasing the game from the very beginning, while Paraguay gained confidence after such a dream start. As the first half continued, both teams played with great intensity. Every challenge became harder, and the players were determined to win every ball. The tension slowly increased as several strong tackles led to arguments between players. It was clear that emotions were running high, and the referee had to work hard to keep control of the game. No one could have imagined that the player who scored the opening goal would soon become part of one of the strangest moments ever seen in a World Cup match. Just before halftime, a rough foul caused players from both teams to gather around each other. As referee Ivan Barton stepped in to calm everyone down, something completely unexpected happened. During the confusion, the referee's watch slipped off his wrist and landed on the grass. Galarza noticed it lying on the field, picked it up, and instead of giving it back immediately, he placed it on his own wrist. The match continued while he was still wearing the referee's watch. Television cameras captured every second of the unusual scene. Viewers around the world watched the goalscorer running around the pitch wearing the official's watch as if nothing had happened. Social media exploded with jokes, memes, and questions. Many people could not believe what they were seeing. Some fans laughed, while others wondered whether the player would receive a punishment for his actions. After several minutes, Galarza finally returned the watch to Barton without any argument or complaint. The referee simply put it back on and allowed the match to continue. Surprisingly, Galarza was not shown another yellow card for the incident, although he had already received one earlier in the game for a different foul. Former referees and football experts admitted they had never seen anything like it before. There was no clear rule explaining how such a situation should be handled because it had simply never happened on football's biggest stage. Most people agreed that Galarza probably did not have any bad intentions. It looked more like a strange decision made in the middle of a chaotic situation. He may have picked up the watch to protect it and then forgot to hand it back immediately as the game continued around him. Even so, the incident showed that football's rulebook cannot cover every possible situation. Sometimes something completely unexpected happens, leaving referees and officials with no clear instructions. The moment also demonstrated how modern television coverage changes football. A small incident that might have gone unnoticed years ago became worldwide news because dozens of cameras were recording every angle of the match. High-definition broadcasts, slow-motion replays, and social media clips turned a few seconds of unusual behavior into one of the tournament's most talked-about moments. However, the match was far from over. Just when people thought they had already seen the strangest event of the day, history was made once again. Deep into first-half stoppage time, another foul near midfield led to more heated words between players. Paraguay's Miguel Almiron became involved in an argument with Turkey defender Mert Mulder. During the exchange, Almiron covered his mouth with his hand while speaking. Mulder immediately pointed out the action to referee Barton, who decided to review the incident using the video assistant referee system. After watching the replay, Barton reached into his pocket and showed Almiron a straight red card. The stadium fell silent as players from both teams reacted with surprise. Fans watching around the world were also confused because many had never heard of the rule that had just been enforced. The dismissal became historic because Almiron was the first player ever sent off in a World Cup for covering his mouth while speaking during a confrontation. This was not an old football law. It was a brand new rule introduced before the 2026 tournament by FIFA and the International Football Association Board. The change came after previous controversies in which players covered their mouths during conversations, making it impossible for officials to understand exactly what had been said. Under the new regulation, the words spoken do not have to be proven, and officials do not need evidence of offensive language. Simply covering the mouth during a heated exchange with an opponent or match official can now be considered enough to receive a red card. Almiron unknowingly became the first player in World Cup history to experience the full impact of this new rule. Turkey continued fighting for an equalizer, but Paraguay defended well and protected their one-goal advantage until the final whistle. The 1-0 victory secured an important 3 points for Paraguay, while ending Turkey's hopes of reaching the knockout stage before they had even played their final group match. Yet, despite the importance of the result, most football fans remembered the game for everything that happened away from the scoreboard. In the end, this single match produced one record-breaking goal, one unforgettable image of a player wearing the referee's watch, and one historic red card under a brand-new football law. It perfectly captured why the 2026 World Cup has been so entertaining. Football is never just about goals and victories. Sometimes the moments that people remember most are the ones nobody could have predicted. This remarkable match will likely be remembered for many years as one of the strangest and most unforgettable games ever played on the World Cup stage. Even after being reduced to 10 players, Paraguay refused to give up. They had taken the lead just over a minute into the match thanks to Matias Galarza's early goal, and now they faced the difficult task of protecting that slim advantage for the entire second half. Turkey had a full extra player on the field and more than 45 minutes to find an equalizer that could keep their World Cup hopes alive. On paper, the situation looked perfect for a comeback. But football does not always follow expectations. Paraguay defended with determination, stayed organized, and fought for every ball until the final whistle. Despite Turkey's numerical advantage, they failed to break through. The score remained 1-0, exactly as it had been since the opening moments of the game. That single goal was enough to send Paraguay to victory and end Turkey's World Cup journey before their final group match had even been played. For Turkish fans, the defeat was especially painful. Their supporters had arrived at the tournament with high hopes, believing their team could make a deep run. Instead, their campaign ended in one of the strangest matches the World Cup has ever seen. The game featured the tournament's fastest goal, the unusual moment when Galarza briefly wore the referee's watch, and a historic red card for a player covering his mouth during an argument. While those incidents grabbed headlines, they also highlighted a bigger issue. FIFA's newest rules may be clear on paper, but many players are still adjusting to them. The red card shown to Miguel Almiron followed the law exactly as written, yet many people questioned whether the punishment matched the situation. There was no claim that he used racist language or made abusive comments. He simply covered his mouth while speaking, something players have done for years out of habit. Under the new rule, however, intent no longer matters. The gesture alone is enough to result in a straight red card. FIFA introduced the law to improve accountability and remove uncertainty, but this match showed how difficult it can be for players to instantly change long-standing habits. Almiron's dismissal became the clearest example yet of how a new rule can have a huge impact on the biggest stage in football. The events in the Paraguay versus Turkey match also started a much bigger conversation about FIFA's new rules and how they work in real matches. Many of these changes were introduced with good intentions, but this tournament has shown that creating a rule is much easier than applying it during the pressure of a World Cup. One example is the mandatory hydration breaks. FIFA added them to protect players from extreme heat, using medical research to support the decision. While the goal was to improve player safety, the breaks also brought unexpected criticism. Some fans and commentators complained that they interrupted the flow of matches, while others believed they created extra opportunities for commercial activities. Although the rule was designed to help players, its real-life impact turned out to be more complicated than many expected. The same pattern can be seen with the new mouth covering rule. Officials created it to solve a real problem by making it harder for players to hide offensive comments during heated moments. The idea behind the law is understandable, but the match between Paraguay and Turkey showed how difficult it can be when new rules meet old habits. Footballers have spent years covering their mouths while talking on the pitch, often without thinking. Suddenly, a gesture that had been common for years now carries the punishment of a straight red card. Miguel Almiron's dismissal became the first major example of how quickly a player's automatic reaction can lead to a huge consequence, even if there is no proof that anything offensive was actually said. This is not the only recent rule change that has raised questions. FIFA has also introduced other regulations after controversial incidents in previous tournaments. Many of these laws were written in response to one specific event but are now applied to every match, no matter the situation. While this creates consistency, It can also remove the flexibility that referees once had to judge each case on its own. The result is that players, officials, and fans are all still adjusting to a different version of the game. The strange watch incident involving Matias Galarza highlighted another side of football. When the referee accidentally dropped his watch and Galarza picked it up, there was no clear procedure explaining exactly what should happen. It was not a serious problem, and nobody believes football needs a special rule just for that situation. Still, it reminded everyone that no rulebook can predict every unusual event that may happen during a fast-moving match. Sometimes referees simply have to make common-sense decisions in the moment. When both incidents are viewed together, they paint a clear picture of modern football. The sport is trying to improve fairness, discipline, and accountability, but players are still adapting to changes that did not exist for most of their careers. That gap between old habits and new rules became obvious for millions of viewers watching this World Cup match. For Turkey, the defeat was even more disappointing because many experts believed they could surprise people in the tournament. Their squad was full of talented players competing in some of Europe's strongest leagues, and many fans expected them to reach the knockout rounds. Instead, they conceded after just 65 seconds and spent the rest of the match chasing the game. Even after Paraguay were reduced to 10 men, Turkey could not find the equalizing goal they desperately needed. Some discussion also focused on Turkish defender Mert Mulder, who immediately appealed to the referee after Almiron covered his mouth. Opinions were divided. Some believed he simply followed the rules and did what any professional player would do. Others felt he used the new law to gain an advantage for his team. Regardless of those opinions, the final score never changed. Paraguay defended with incredible determination, stayed organized, and protected their one-goal lead despite playing the entire second half with one fewer player. Their discipline and teamwork deserved as much attention as the unusual moments that dominated the headlines. After the match, reactions across social media reflected the emotions of both fan bases. Turkish supporters expressed frustration over their team's early exit and debated whether the new disciplinary rules were too strict. Paraguayan fans, meanwhile, celebrated both the victory and the unforgettable image of Galarza wearing the referee's watch. The picture quickly became one of the most shared images of the tournament, inspiring countless jokes, memes, and humorous edits. Even referee Ivan Barton reportedly treated the incident with good humor afterward, showing that not every strange moment on football's biggest stage has to end in controversy.